the election here. I've got two prospective parliamentary candidates. Well, they are the candidates. Will Goodhand, the Conservative prospective parliamentary candidate, is here, and Steve Turner from UKIP. Now, one thing that unites you guys, I guess, is, and we can't talk to the sitting MP at the moment, Tom Blenkinsop, is that you think that Labour have made a mess of things, Steve Turner, I guess.
Yeah, certainly do. I've lived in the area all my life, and as long as I can remember, we've had Labour councils, Labour MPs, and quite frankly, they don't do enough to stand up for the area. They come in, they promise the world, and then they go down to Westminster. A lot of these people are career politicians, and actually we don't see a great deal of them up in the constituency once they've been elected.
But Will Goodhand, as I said there in some of the figures there, you know, 6.5% isn't a bad unemployment rate. You know, there are good things happening with the economy, I suppose you'd tell us.
Yes, well, I mean, we're seeing the benefits of the recovery here. So we've had a fall of 43% in the number of people who are claiming job seekers allowance in this constituency since 2010. So almost half the number of people who are actually on that unemployment benefit. So there's always more to be done, for sure. When you're talking about young people, right here in Prior-Perth College where we are, I've held 3 events now to get the word out about apprenticeships. So we had one to tell businesses and training providers what was available. Then we held an apprenticeship fair here for people, young people from across Teesside to come. So, you know, there's always more work to be done to make sure that those economic benefits are felt here on the ground. But I think the important thing is, as a gentleman here was saying, is that we work to do that. And I think that's where Labour's been failing.
Well, let me ask you, Steve, I mean, are there any caveats to that? As I say, the figures speak for themselves, but the jobs are being created. Is it UKIP's position that some of those are going to the wrong people, I guess?
I think the problem you've got, and Will's exactly right, there are a lot more jobs created, but for every 12 jobs in the south, there's only 1 created in the north. Right, and that's something we've got to turn around. And I know Will's worked hard and looked at some apprenticeships, but we don't do enough with apprenticeships at UKIP. We believe that we should be teaching people, we should be offering apprenticeships at GCSE level and allowing people to start there. This policy the Labour Party has of 50% people going to university just doesn't work. What
about immigration, though, from your point of view? As I said, you know, do you feel some of the jobs that are being created are going to people who were not born in the United Kingdom?
There is an element of that. It's not as prevalent up here in the North East as it is in some parts of the world, and it's certainly not that prevalent in Teesside. But I was at a meeting just last week. There's a new site being built at Wilton down the road, and 70% of the jobs on that site have been taken by foreign immigrants and not by local people.
So let me ask you about that then, Will Goodhand. I mean, do you feel that you've neutralised that argument from the United Kingdom Independence Party?
Well, I think what we need to do is to make sure that the opportunities are there for our young people. So what we had under Labour, in this area, again in Middlesbrough South and East Cleveland, there are 600 people starting an apprenticeship each year of the last Labour government. Once we came in, got it up to 1,200, and so that's been the case each year. So double the number of people starting an apprenticeship in Middlesbrough South and East Cleveland under this government compared to Labour. So there is always more to do, but I think that is the choice, and it's a shame that the Labour MP is not joining us today, because that's the argument that people are going to be facing.
Mr Blenkinsop said he's got business to do. He's the sitting MP business to do in London. Steve Turner, what about the NHS? And for both of you, it's one of the burning issues of this general election campaign. Now, UKIP's policy on the NHS is, quite frankly, a bit of a mess. Are you in favour of privatisation?
Absolutely not. I disagree with that. Nigel Farage was very clear on Sunday. UKIP pledges to put £3 billion more into the NHS than is currently. We won't privatise the NHS. It will always remain free at point of need in this country.
And, I mean, the NHS, you know, the charge is, Will Goodhand, you know, you are in favour of privatisation, bringing the private sector more to play within the national.
Well, we were watching, I mean, you had Andy Burnham on your own channel earlier today talking about the NHS. I mean, this guy, the Labour would-be health secretary, he's the one who was there during the Mid-Staffs disaster. Ed Miliband this morning was talking about ambulance queuing times and stuff. We've seen the mess that Labour have made at the moment of running the NHS in Wales. This is not an easy issue, you know, when you have such a big population, illnesses, people living longer. But the issue is, are we going to have a strong economy to fund the NHS? Because that's absolutely what you need. And then, are you able to protect the NHS budget, which is what we have done over the past 5 years, and we've said we'll do the same over the next 5 years, despite the mess that Labour left the country.
Well, we'll be hearing lots more of those arguments throughout the next 100 days. Will Goodhand, Steve Turner, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Well, you'll be aware that